We're now joined by Adam Manet, whose cousin was taken hostage by Hamas. Adam, very good morning to you. Just first of all, explain why you and others are going to Downing Street today.
Well, it's obviously we're trying to raise awareness of the hostages, and the hostages are not just being captive of Hamas and Islamic Jihad, they're also hostage to indifference. We have not seen enough attention being brought to their plight, and this is our way of doing what we can to refocus not just the world's attention, not just the Jewish community's attention, but our government's attention on the plight of the hostages and urge them to do everything they can to secure their release.
In saying that, you essentially are saying that you feel that the government aren't focused enough on the Israeli hostages being held by Hamas. I'm sure the government would say that they are, and they recognise and have called at every stage of the last couple of years for their immediate release.
No, they haven't. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spelled it out very clearly that as soon as Macron, and then following on from that, Canada and the UK, said that they were going to recognize a state of Palestine unless Israel agreed to a ceasefire, which again was a perverse incentive for Hamas. Hamas immediately withdrew from the negotiations. We were very close to a deal. Hamas broke contact with the negotiators and congratulated the United Kingdom and our government for what they call the fruits of October 7th. It's a perverse outcome, and it's a perverse diplomacy that our government is currently engaged in, and we want them to course correct immediately.
So when you say course correct, essentially you want them to essentially argue that a Palestinian state should not be recognised, I assume, until this war comes to an end. That their argument is that effectively they want to pressurise the Israeli government to reach a deal.
They're entitled to make whatever pressure they want onto the Israeli government, but there's two partners that need to be involved in this deal, and I'm not seeing enough pressure being put on Hamas. We have state benefactors that we are very close with, in alliance with, including Turkey and Qatar, who do have leverage over Hamas and who could be brought to bear, or that leverage could be brought to bear on Hamas if our government were more willing to exert pressure on those governments to do whatever they can to secure the release of the hostages and Hamas's ultimate surrender. This would be the swiftest way to end the crisis in the Middle East, and enable us to, chart a new pathway.
In saying that, though, Adam, we also have a circumstance where Israel's talking about escalating military action inside Gaza, and many people in Israel and elsewhere feel that action actually might endanger the lives of the 20 or so hostages that are still held in Gaza. Is that a concern of yours as well?
We're very concerned about the welfare of the hostages. Just last week, we saw haunting images of Ron Boslavsky and Eviatar David, who we saw him looking emaciated and forced to dig his own grave. So every day that we delay in securing their release, their lives are in jeopardy. But that only, I think, underlines the point that our government in the UK, which is where we're trying to focus on, can do a lot more to secure their release. And they're just not doing it. They're putting all the emphasis on Israel, but I'm not seeing enough emphasis being put on Hamas and Islamic Jihad and the terrorist ghouls that are currently holding 50 hostages captive in Gazan hell tunnels.
But I suppose the ultimate response to that is that actually what's been proven over the last couple of years is that Britain hasn't got much influence, really, when it comes to this conflict on either side. Let's be honest about that, in regards to its ability to influence the Israeli government or indeed Hamas or some of the actors in that region. Isn't that fair to say? I mean, the UK has proven pretty impotent in all of this.
I mean, it's certainly in the last few weeks have shown that it's completely inept when it comes to foreign policy. Nevertheless, it is never too late to course correct. We do have very strong links with Qatar and Turkey and other countries in the region where pressure can be brought to bear. We have, Qatar is the 10th largest real estate owner in the UK. They invest in sports teams. They own the Shard. They own Harrods. There's a lot of to and fro between us and Qatar is currently hosting the Hamas political leadership as we speak in 5-star luxury hotels. So I don't think enough pressure is being brought to bear. To the credit of the Arab states, they have actually said that they are urging Hamas to surrender and lay down their arms and have no role in a future government. And I think that should be echoed by our government in a much more explicit way, not something that was said as as an aside after their declaration of recognition of the state of Palestine.
And just very finally on that, Adam, I mean, what's your stated position on the two-state solution, if you like? I mean, do you think, and the UK government's been clear about this, that Hamas cannot play a role in a Palestinian state, but is it your view and the view of the others that may well be in Downing Street this afternoon, that in the long term, the long-term solution, the long-term peace plan should be a two-state solution?
I'm not a diplomat and I'm not a military expert. I'm just representing my family, 3 of whom were murdered by Hamas. I certainly don't want to see any future in which Hamas has any role in any future state of Palestine. I don't think we're certainly there yet in terms of recognizing a state of Palestine. What are its borders? Who are its leaders? We're looking at the Palestinian Authority that is 20 plus years into a 4-year term. They're not a democratic organization. They have not shown. The UK government, the current Labour government, has always explicitly stated that a two-state solution should be part of a peace process. There is no peace process at the moment. We need to get to a point where we have a peace process, then we can talk about things like that.
OK, Adam, we appreciate your time here on Sky News this morning, live from Brighton. Thank you.
Thank you.